Greetings and salutations. Working on the Buick today. I have a malfunction that I need to address. Let me show you what's happening. It's probably not going to do it because I'm filming. So anyway, when you turn the key on, right, you start the vehicle, right? So the gauges sweep up, down, okay? And what will happen is this thing, usually this thing runs at 210 degrees, which is about normal. But what will happen is that thing will start to drop slowly and then go all the way to zero. And when that happens, the air conditioning shuts off and the cooling fan in front of the radiator, behind the radiator, whatever it's at, the cooling fan up in the front, goes on high. And that's because everything is computerized on these cars anymore, and if one system isn't communicating with the rest of the systems, then everything just kind of goes in default mode. And when the computer can't see a temperature, it doesn't know if it's overheating or not. So rather than risking it for the biscuit, it just turns the cooling fan on high and turns the air conditioning off, just in the off chance it might be a cooling system issue. There's nothing wrong with it. It's still working the way it's supposed to. It's just that the computer can't see that everything's working normally, and it's just a faulty temperature sender. Oh, that's easy. Just replace the sender. Let me show you where the sender's at. See this thing right here? That's the heat shield for it. It's still underneath there next to the manifold. So to get to it, you need to take this cover off, and, you know, kind of feel around down in there, and there's a connector. It's a connector I need to get to that has a safety lock on it. That's going to be kind of a pain in the ass to get to, I'm sure. I might have to stick this camera down there and get some pictures of everything. But first things third, let's take this cover off, and that's as easy as removing that. We'll set that there. Giving her a good yank. Look at that ugly thing. Put this back so nothing falls down in it. All right, so let me dig around down there and I'll see if I can find it. All right, so I pulled the coil wires off so I could get this wiring harness pulled away so I could see what I'm supposed to be looking at. And there's the sensor right there. And that red tab there, that's the safety locking tab. That needs to be pulled out so that you can depress the little lever to pull it off the actual sensor. So I'm gonna cuss for a little bit and question my life choices here, and I'm gonna do that all off camera so you don't have to hear me, and then I'll show you the connector when I get it disconnected. Back in a minute. All right, so here's the connector. You see my big fat finger? Probably not. So this goes on here and locks this in place so you can't depress the little button. And the way to get that off is to just get down in there with some needle nose, pull it off. Shouldn't have to pull it off all the way, but you know what? You can. Shouldn't have to, but I think it's best if you do. And it's my car. Actually, it's my wife's car. And but I'm the one that's got to work on it. And if I ever have to do this again, I won't have to screw around with that little locking tab. So I'm getting rid of that. Here's the new sensor with a new crush washer. Make sure I got the right damn one. Yep, fits. All right. Now odds are, once I pull this out, it's gonna start hemorrhaging coolant. So I wanna make sure I have everything ready. So I'll slip this socket in. I know you can't see anything that's going on here. But trust me, I can't see anything either. Yeah. Hey, look at that. I'm there. Leave it to the engineers to figure out a way to cram 10 gallons of shit into a 5-gallon bucket. Although I gotta say, this is cavernous compared to the Malibu. Cavernous, I tell you. Still a pain in the ass. It ain't no small block Chevy, that's for sure. All right, let me get busy pulling this out, and we'll see if I can lose less than a gallon of coolant. That wasn't that bad. The hardest part is just manipulating yourself to get your hands into where they need to be to tighten things and plug things in. You got a dipstick tube that's in the way and some wiring that's in the way. You can move out of the way if you can. I unplugged the coils. There's 3 coils here. I unplugged these connectors. Okay, 1, 2, 3. That allowed me to pull the wiring harness out of the way so I could access that connector. There's a heat shield that goes on that sensor. Try not to damage that, because that sensor is right next to the exhaust manifold, and believe me when I tell you, that heat shield was hot AF when I pulled in here to check to see where it was at. And then pull that little safety catch out of the connector, squeeze the little doohickey in the connector, pull the connector off, 3/4 inch deep well socket to get on the sensor. It's not going to be that tight. The new sensor should come with a new copper crush washer. Tighten that down, just wrist tight. You don't have to send it home. Just snug it up, and then fight like hell to get that connector back on. Put the dipstick back in, put the engine cover back on. Bob's your uncle, and maybe it's good for another, I don't know, 120,000 miles. But if your air conditioning is shutting off and you get no reading at the temperature gauge, it's probably going to toss the code. Let's plug the scan tool in and read the code. That's what we should do. Let me go grab that. What did I do with it? I don't remember. Like the engineers, I'm pretty good at cramming 10 gallons of shit in a 5-gallon bucket too. Look at my garage. What did I do with it? I don't know. Turn the key on. All right, any good shade tree mechanic is gonna have some kind of scan tool. I have a better one than this. For the life of me, I can't find it. But I will put a link in the description to a very inexpensive scan tool that you can purchase and use to run diagnostic codes and all sorts of different modules. So let's try. Enter. What's this one say? Diagnostic. Diagnostics. House on 2 codes found. Read codes, stored codes, none are pending codes. No pending codes. Well, this doesn't make any sense. Well, apparently the codes weren't stored. I checked this before, and it came back as a temperature sensor, so that's what I replaced. I forget what the code is. If I find it, I'll annotate it here, and if this doesn't work, it'll probably trip again. Yeah, all I did for the better part of a week and a half was just when I would hear the cooling fan running on high, I would just turn the car off, let the cooling fan run. It'll run for about 30 seconds after you turn the car off, and then once it shuts off, you can restart. It kind of reboots the system, and everything would come back online until it didn't, and then you'd have to repeat the process all over again. Kind of annoying, especially on a $20,000 used car. But on the plus side, the sensor was only $7, and up $7 or $8. It might be more than that, $12 or something like that. I'll see if I can find one. I'll put a link in the description. This is a 2015 Buick Enclave. I think this goes from 2012 to 2019, I believe. I'll do a little more digging and find that out for you. I'll annotate that right here. And yeah, check the links in the description for the sensor and a inexpensive code reader that I recommend. And if you like this video, got anything out of it, smash the like button, share it with your best social media network. Until next time, you have fun, stay safe, shoot straight, keep powder dry, and have a splendid day. It's getting hot in here. November, and it's 80 degrees. Doesn't make any sense. Anyway, toodaloo, until next time, bye-bye. Well, here's a side-by-side comparison of the new one versus the old one. This one's got 120,000 on it. Well, I pulled it out, and there's no coolant leaking out of the thing. There's coolant in the reservoir. I don't know if I should be concerned or not, but I'm going to put this back in and go with it, I guess. Oh, look at me, Boy Scout that I am. I went to the parts store and got a gallon of coolant, anticipating an environmental catastrophe, and I spilt nary a drop of coolant. So now I have a gallon of coolant that I'm going to trip over in this garage until something springs a leak. Ah! Great.